Good morning, everybody. This is Alan with craftyant.com, and today we're going to show you how to make a fan, a personal fan that you can wave around. And this actually came up because of going to church, and sometimes it gets a little hot and muggy inside the church building, even with the AC running, that people are waving around their little books and trying to keep cool. And I thought I could make a fan that will work, and one of my own design. I haven't seen anybody else do this, so instead of doing just fold up stuff, I take a piece of cardstock and fold it in half, put it on a stick, and call it good. But then I got a little more elaborate after that, so we'll show you the steps I do to make that kind of paper fan. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is I need my glue. I love this glue. I use it for most everything now because it works really well with this cardstock and the lace. So it's called Fabri-Tac by Beacon. They've got a couple different kinds, but I just happen to use this for fabric, the lace particular, for other crafts, and it works really well and holds, and it's fairly fast drying. So we'll be using that. And then I have my lace. I got this because I was doing another craft that I required lace, and I thought it works good on this too, and the little lacy edges look pretty nice, and when you wave it around, it gives you a little extra air too. And we're getting into the recycling, and I thought, piece of cardboard. I could use cardboard for things. I got a couple other designs I'm working on. Recycling cardboard boxes, like cereal boxes, beer boxes, potato chip boxes. And this right here is just thick enough for the tongue depressors. And the tongue depressors, I made this because if you make it with regular paper, it's going to stick out of the paper and leave this bulge in there, and I thought that's kind of ugly. I don't want to do that, so I have to put the cardstock in there and cut a slot for it right about there. Then I can reinforce the whole fan, make it a little sturdier, and get rid of that bump and make a nice smooth flat surface when I put the colored paper on. And then we come down to our colored paper. Our cardstock is just regular cardstock, comes in a binder. I get it from the local craft shop here, and I use it for a lot of different things, and I thought, okay, mostly the women are fanning these things around, so flowers should be good, and I've made a few different designs of things, and everybody seems to like them, so we stick to this. So I'll be taking that. Basically, we're going to cut a big circle in here, and 12 inches, the whole width of the thing. I'm just going to cut it around. I had to shorten it just a little bit, so it's not exactly 12. It's like 11 and 3/8. Which is like 5 and 11/16 radius from the center out, and then cut the circle, held in just a little bit. And that's mainly because of the cardboard that I had a half circle cut out, and that half circle in the cardboard was a little bit narrower, and I wanted to keep a gap around the edge. So I left this little arch with the cardboard in the center of it, and we could put our lace inside of the little slot that it leaves around the outside from holding it back. And it's just a nice guide and gives you a place to line everything up and keep it nice and pretty. And then instead of having plain old handles, wood handles, I like these handles because they're curved, they fit just right. So because of the way they fit, this works out right for holding onto it and waving it around. And then I decided, let's dolly them up a little bit, and then we can put this on the outside of it. And then all I got to do is sand it on the edge a little bit just to smooth it up, and we got a decorative handle. And it's got a little grip and texture to it that feels good. You can hold on to it, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to take these things. I'm going to run through the Cricut machine. We can actually take this and cut it by hand. So if you want to cut it by hand, all you got to do is fold it in half. And once you get it folded in half, use your compass, find your center, and just draw that half circle around there. And that will give you that full fan arch, and then you can open it up. And once you open it up, you can take your cardboard, put it that little shorter distance, do that same arch in there, and then we'll cut the center out a little bit and be able to put your tongue depressor inside. I like to use that wide spot right there. That's where I'll stop it. That's about 2.5 inches right around there. We'll set that to that distance so it just sits nice and neat against it instead of coming down farther and having the gap in there. You're going to rip the paper trying to stick this thing in that wide, so you want to stick close to the edge. So we're going to cut that nice little hole out right there and just drop this thing inside. And I do this all in my Cricut machine. So I'm not going to go through too much instruction on a Cricut machine right now. That's a little lengthy process, but all this can be done by hand, which is what I started by hand. And then I designed it on the Cricut to do it automated, and I just push the button and it just starts cutting things for me. So that's going to be our next thing. Let me cut these things out on my Cricut, and then we'll get back to you and put them together. Okay, we're back with all of our cut pieces, and we're going to start to build us a fan. So you see how I got my cardboard cut, a little half circle with the notch cut out of it. And that's just big enough to fit that tongue depressor right inside of it. Okay, just went right to the edges, keep a nice tight fit. And then also we got our paper cut here for the outside. Now I got some writing on here because I'm making them for the church, and I got their name and my name on here to get me notoriety too. But on the underside of it, this is how we're going to be gluing together. This is where the cardstock goes. And once you put the cardstock inside there, we're going to line it up right to our little slot there, which should give us this little trim around the edge, which is what we're looking for. Just have this little border around here, and that border just happens to be big enough to set that lace right inside of it like that and glue it down and leave the rest of it out. And it's a nice guide. So once we got that thing set up just right, we'll glue that thing in place, and we got to get our handle installed too. So we're going to get this folded in half. I've got my crease already set in here so I can just easily fold it without breaking it. I put a double edge right there when I fold it so I don't crack it, because if you fold the paper right in half, it'll crack right there, and I don't want it to crack, so I put a double so it doesn't put so much stress on it. But now that I got it like that, I can put this right inside there, fold it over to where it's centered. And once I'm sure it's in the right spot, all lined up around the outside edge, then I can bring it around, know that my cardboard's right where I want it to be, and then I can glue the cardboard down. So that's what I'm going to do right now, while we're waiting for a couple other things. I'm going to take my Fabri-Tac glue, I'm going to make sure this thing stays in the center, and I just want to glue the cardboard to one side just to make sure it stays in place. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot of glue, but just make sure you cover all the areas so everything gets a good stick to it. Once it's all got a good stick to it, we'll just fold the paper over, and we'll stick that one side of the cardboard to the paper. That's our start. Okay, so now that I did that, fold it back over, our cardboard's in place. Now we're going to do our stick. So now we got our stick done, we're going to do the same thing with it. We're going to put a little glue. I just like to run around the edge, and maybe a little bit down the center, just in case. And then we take our pretty side up and stick our pre-cut piece on there. Make sure it goes around the outside edge all the way around, because sometimes it slides around while you're playing with it, so keep an eye on it. So while you're playing, it didn't actually slide on you, waiting for it to dry. But there it is, one side. And then we'll do the other side the same way. Maybe get a little bit more on the edge right there. We want to make sure it doesn't try to come up off of it. So, and we'll stick that on there just like that. See how it slides around a little bit while it's wet. We want to make sure it stays in place while we're messing around till it dries. And we just dogged up our handles. I had these cut nice and right to the edge. I took the picture of this thing with the camera, and then I imported it into Cricut and sized it up and it cut it right to the money. Same shape as the stick. I just took a picture of the stick and imported that picture in Cricut and said cut to the edge, set my size I want, 8 inches long, and make sure it was the right width, and then it just naturally fits right in place. I do normally go back behind these things, and I will take my, what do you call it, my heel file, if I remember where I put it. Here it is, buried under everything. This thing right here, as good as it is for your heels, is just as good for this wood. So it's a nice little sanding thing, and it's got that curve to it. It lets you fit in between all the curves in here. So you can sand the edge of that paper off so it isn't just rough paper there. And I could go through that process, but I want to let this thing dry up here a little bit. Once it's dried up, and I know it's not going to move on me, you can see how the edge, how it sticks up just a little bit right there. Yeah, you just want to sand that edge off. That's all we do. And so I just do like this. The curve works nice because it lets you sand in towards the wood and it eats the paper off on the edge, so you're not destroying your handle. You're just eating the edge of it off until you leave that nice smooth edge. And then that's all we do all the way around this thing. Just get that smooth edge. And then you see how there's a gap on the other side. We'll just turn around the other way, do the same thing. We'll just see how it's making the rough edges there and the stuff's coming off. We're just taking off that little extra paper that was left there to give it a smooth handle. And that's the way it is, nice and smooth, right to the edge, no extra sticking up. Now I'll finish up on this thing and I'll come right back to you and we'll put the thing inside the fan and finish the fan up. Okay, now we're back. The edge of my handle's been smoothed up, so no rough edges on there. It feels nice and clean, nothing trying to peel off, so we're good with that. What I want to do now is we're going to insert the handle. Now I left this slot in the center that's just the right width to put this handle in and come right to the edge. And then it drops down inside the hole. And that's what I wanted to do. I just want to drop inside that hole. It gives a nice sturdy guide, takes that bump out of there that we want to get rid of, and gives me a place to put it in. Once I got that in, I can actually go ahead and just glue it in if I wanted to, which I will do. So we just put our Fabri-Tac again down the center. Just enough in there to hold the stick in place. Once I got that stick in place there, you can see the other side of the handle sticking out. And now we're going to put our ribbon in place, or lace. So we got that lace and we're going to measure it from the edge here and just keep along that guide the whole way. And we go all the way down here to the bottom. Take my scissors out here and we'll cut it right there. So that'll go all the way around. Then I'll put my glue in the channel right there. I'm just going to put a bead of glue all the way around. And once I got that bead of glue in there, I'll start placing it. Get it right to the edge there. It keeps it nice and lined up. I don't have to mess with it as before when I didn't have the cardboard in there. I had to keep it in place while I was working it without a guide. Now that I got the guide on there, I can just push it right up to it, call it good, where before I had to kind of play with it to hold it till it dried. A little bit of a pain, so this way just makes it nice and easy. So now they got that in like that, the handle is in, the backing is in, the lace is in. We're just going to close this thing up. So one last time with the glue, we're going to run around a bead around the lace, a little bit on the handle, and back and forth through the cardboard, and then close it and seal it, and it's done. So all right, put my cap back on my glue, and we're going to fold it up. Once I fold it up, seal it down, push it all down, make sure it's nice and attached, and then there we are. We have a fan. Flip it over to the other side. You see the lace on the back side? This is a certain kind of lace that has only got the ribbon on the one side, not on the other side. So you get lace and ribbon on one side, but you get just lace on the other side. Either way, it looks good, unless I use the other, which is just ribbon on both sides, no lace. So there you have it. We have a fan. It works. It's done. And it wasn't a whole lot of work. Just a little bit of time, a little bit of fuss on a couple things, but easy enough. If you guys got any ideas or questions, you can get in touch with us on craftyant.com. I've got a lot more demonstrations on there of certain things, how to use some recycled cardboard. Just give us a shout, and we'd like to hear from you. Thanks.